That interest is from both sides. It's not only one way. It's both sides wants to improve the relations. So that is a positive sign. But at the same time, India should not be complacent also.
We're discussing Maldives-India ties or relations after the External Affairs Minister's latest visit. Our expert is Dr. Gulbin Sultana. She's an Associate Fellow with the Manohar Parrikar Institute of Defence Studies and Analysis. This is Strat News Global. I'm Amitabh Revi. Dr. Sultana, thanks for coming in. Good to see you again.
Thank you.
This latest visit, lots of, at least in media circles, words being used, recalibration, reset, India from India out to India in, mending fences, managing differences. What's your take on the state of relations currently?
I think this visit signals a positive development in India-Maldives relations, particularly because after the presidential elections held in Maldives, we have seen lots of uncertainties in India-Maldives relations. But after the parliamentary elections in Maldives in March this year, we have seen changes in approach of Muizzu administration. There were 2 visits from Maldives. Maldivian foreign minister visited, then President himself visited to attend the oath-taking ceremony of Prime Minister Modi. And then now Dr. Jaishankar visiting Maldives. I think it's a positive signal. It's a signal that both sides now interested to and really committed to maintain the friendly relations which we traditionally had, and to further the relations. So that sense, it's a positive development. So let's see how it goes ahead. So as of now, I really feel that it's a positive development. This visit gives lots of positive vibe between the two countries.
You're mentioning the presidential campaign, President Muizzu. One of his campaign slogans was India out, and he perceives that gave him a push to the presidency. How does that sit now with a lot of analysts who say now is India back in?
See, I think till parliamentary election, President Muizzu was very conscious, and even now he says that he is following the same foreign policy which he declared during his election campaign, and he claims that he is neither pro-China or pro-India. He is pro-Maldives, so he will continue his relations or maintain friend relations with any country who is not interfering in the domestic affairs or affecting Maldives sovereignty. So now when he is showing that he is really interested to work with India and talking lots of good things about India and thanking India for the assistance India is providing to Maldives, that shows now that President Muizzu has accepted that India is not interfering in Maldivian domestic politics or India is affecting Maldives sovereignty. So I think that is a positive signal to the people of Maldives, particularly to the people who were supporting India Out campaign or who were actually propagating the India Out campaign, and coming it from particularly from President Muizzu, who was himself a part of this India Out campaign. So it gives a positive signal. But because Maldives is vulnerable because of the economic situation, it's vulnerable to geostrategic competition, and in fact, it has already become a theater of geostrategic competition. So though as of now, I don't see any domestic political challenge Muizzu is going to face, because in the parliament he has absolute majority, his party has absolute majority. But given the economic situation and the geostrategic vulnerabilities, anything can happen in future. So I think in that sense, India should not be complacent. I think it's a positive development. India should take this positive engagement with Maldives. And another important actually highlight during Jaishankar's visit was Maldives. Since 2008, that is the year when Maldives became multi-party democracy. Since then, if you see, this is probably for the first time any Indian officials during official visit met an opposition leader. that is a positive signal. That means that because India has always, this is my personal view, that India has always been identified with a particular party or particular leader. But in my view, in diplomacy, it's very important that relationship should be between the two countries, not particular leader or particular party. So that is why our aim should be to engage with all the political stakeholders. So that way, I see this is a positive development.
If you look at, it was a 3-day visit.
Yeah.
And he traveled quite a lot, went down south to Adu as well. Now, if you look at the inauguration that has that took place, whether it's in Malé or otherwise, 28 water sewage islands, projects in islands, the Adu the beach reclamation and that link road, and so many other human-centric, what MEA calls, high development, high impact projects. Is that making a difference to the people of the Maldives? Because one of the slogans again that Jaishankar used was imagined by Maldives and delivered by India. This, again, messaging there. That it's what we're giving you what you want.
Exactly. I think that is the policy of Government of India's developmental project. Like we don't impose, India doesn't impose any project. Demand should be from the recipient country. And high impact community development projects, I think they are really doing well. Even during the India Out campaign, if you see, the campaigners, they were targeting those security and defense related projects. They were not talking anything about the high impact community development projects. And because they were directly impacting the people and in positive sense. So in that sense, I think this is very, very important that we continue to engage and do these community development projects, high impact community development projects. In the next 5 years, we don't know. India may not sign any large scale projects like what India did during last 5 years during Soli administration after completing the existing projects. So even if large scale projects doesn't come to India, I think India should continue to invest or like provide assistance for small scale projects, community high impact community development projects. And particularly I think Muizzu, if you see the the roadmap for the next 5 years, he has announced several projects for the development of the country. Some of them are large scale, but he also talks about that this infrastructure project should be climate resilient. But so he needs lots of climate financing. Unfortunately, Maldives is not receiving as much as climate financing it needs or it wishes to. Whatever assistance coming from China or some other countries, it's mostly low in terms of loans or some skill grants, but not climate financing. So I think that is one area where India can play an important role. As of now, I think climate financing, if we see, it's mostly coming from some of the European countries, not from India or China. Though the Sivarich project, which India actually introduced, that's actually again climate adaptation related project only. So we are also doing, assisting in some renewable energy projects. So this kind of, probably we can do more, particularly in this area, particularly in climate financing. So both sides, they can sit together and decide. So that is my personal view.
One of the largest foreign investment projects was also reviewed, the connectivity, Malé, the bridge, etc. But there's also now movement on UPI being able to be used in the Maldives, which would probably make a lot of difference for both Indians and Maldivians. I presume there'll be a counter.
Yes, I think it will help them two ways, the Maldivians. One is it will help the Indian tourists, the tourism sector, it will provide help. And also for the Maldivians, for, financial services, it can now, probably now they will introduce it in the remote areas also. So it will not only be impacted in, people will not feel the impact only in Malé, but also remote areas, people can, they can use these financial services, it will really help people. Because, and I think, so both Maldivian, they will benefit, and also it will help the tourism sector, particularly when the Indian tourists visit. So it will, another, I think, will be an incentive, and it will mutual, as President And Dr. Jaishankar has said the relationship is mutually beneficial relations. So that's a good development, I feel.
But most of the projects that were inaugurated, say, or progress was reviewed, were actually started during President Soli's time. So would you say that President Muizzu and the current administration are gaining from what happened in the previous government?
Yes, definitely. Of course, they will, because they signed the agreement that time, but ultimately it will be inaugurated now, and the actual benefit in terms of, profit or whatever, it will come now, or the benefit, the people will see the benefit now, once the projects are completed. But another issue, I think, for Maldivian will be that some of the financial burden will also come. Not immediately, maybe, because the debt repayment, it comes, they don't have to repay the debt immediately. It will come maybe 2-3 years, after 2-3 years. And I think that is why Muizzu has also requested India to restructure the debt payment, because it's going to be a major burden. Debt issue is a major burden for Maldives. I think right now, immediately, like the next 1 or 2 years, the major debt repayment Maldives has to do to, I think, to China probably, because and then probably India will come later. So that is why Maldives needs cooperation from all the creditors. As per one estimate, probably by 2026, the debt servicing will be kind of around $1 billion. It's a huge amount for Maldives. And right now they are having foreign reserve crisis. Tourism is also not doing, as much as they should be expecting. So in that sense, I think it is quite pragmatic on part of President Muizzu, that he maintains a friend relations with India, and that is why we probably see that what you call a recalibration of Muizzu's foreign policy is so I think he is adopting a pragmatic approach at this point of time.
You mentioned it earlier also, but say when the MDP asked President Muizzu to apologize for all the incidents and that had taken place after he took over, and he was speaking to, I think, Maldivian media, where he said there's no need to apologize. He was following the same foreign policy as he had laid out in his campaign. It's non-discriminatory. It is for Maldives. How do you assess that balancing role between, like you said, it is a center of geopolitical games?
So I think it is a tough call for Muizzu, because on the one hand, he cannot ignore his own people, his own voters and party leaders. So asking his party members to, apologize and all, I think after doing this entire India out campaign now with not even 1 year, and he's saying that, I think he has to think about his political future also. And at the same time, as I mentioned, that probably he has realized that it's not pragmatic on his part to offend India or not to maintain a friend relations with India when so much stake is involved, particularly in terms of financial burden. So he needs assistance. And not only, I think, only debt restructuring. Initially, if you see first 2-3 months, he has talked about reducing dependence on India. And he has signed agreements on with several countries, not only on the security or defense related issues, but also he has said that food import, people can go, he has signed agreement with Turkey. He is also approaching with Thailand and other countries, and also in the health sector, medical, because lots of Maldivians come to India, and they also get some insurance facilities. This Asandha insurance scheme, which is provided to the people who come for health facilities to India. Now, he has actually already announced that it will be extended to the people who is going to Thailand also for health facilities. So these are basically to reduce dependency on India. But then just before Ramzan, I think there was a crisis, in the Red Sea crisis, and they were expecting that food supply will come from Turkey, but there was delay. Ramzan was beginning, but still there was delay of this Red Sea crisis, so it was not coming. So probably he has realized, I mean, it's just my assumption, so probably he has realized that he cannot totally ignore, and he has to keep all the channels open if there's crisis, because ultimately Maldives is dependent on other countries for import or for other supplies. So it's very important that all the supply chains are open. There may be, it's not only that domestic issues are there and that affects India-Maldives relations, but there are other geopolitical issues also going on. So given the global geopolitical and geoeconomic situation, I think it is good that if the friend relations is maintained with India, because during COVID time, if we see, the supply chain was open between India and Maldives, and shipping line was working throughout. Even the Maldivians could come and access the medical facilities here during the lockdown period. So because of all this factor, I think he is now trying to maintain a balance, like to not to offend his own people, his voters, his cadres, and also the creditors and the other countries, donor countries.
But is he balancing, say, India, China, and others, like you said, Turkey, or is he playing one off against the other?
Initially, it seemed, because during China visit and that time that social media fiasco happened, and he used the term, like, he didn't mention that India, he didn't say India is a bully, but he said something which, like we cannot tolerate bully or something like that. And also saying that we want to reduce dependency on India, and we are going. My personal understanding is, for a small country, and particularly a country which is dependent on others for everything, diversification of economy and diversification of foreign policy is always good. But what Muizzu initially was doing was, he's not only talking about that I'm interested to diversify foreign policy or diversify the economy, but it seemed that he was targeting India, that we don't want India, we are going towards India. I think that the kind of rhetoric he used, I think that is important, that we need to see like how he uses. So we see that kind of changes after parliamentary elections. Probably I feel because he knew that election was coming and he just cannot shift his approach and policy immediately. So probably he was waiting, but now in the parliament he is comfortable. He has his party, not even coalition, his party, but PNC got absolute majority in the parliament. So politically, domestic, as far as in the domestic politics is concerned, he probably is feeling comfortable. So I think it gives him a chance to probably now change the rhetorics, at least what he uses, the diplomatic words, whatever he is using. But we have to see, as I say, like politics, we don't know.
It's probably more secure because of the parliamentary
yeah, but at the same
well.
time, uncertainty is there because of the economic situation, because he has promised a lot. If he can't deliver, there will be definitely, disappointment. Like, for example, now IMF and World Bank, they have said, and I think he has also talked about some homegrown solution to deal with the economic challenges. So some of the solutions are like he has given is bringing tax reforms and also reforming the state-owned enterprises. And IMF, World Bank has welcomed those. Now, if he implements that, particularly the tax reform, it will affect the people. So people may not like it. And then also there were a fishermen protest, I think 3-4 months back, because the fishermen were not paid. There are lots of protests. Finally, government has, I think, they have paid, and they gotten some new policy to make the payment to the fishermen. So, and as per that policy, I think now it's decided that the fishermen would be paid within 48 hours of purchasing the fish. The MIFCO, that is the organization, they will pay it. But that can be done only when there is enough supply of money to the MIFCO. As of now, that is not the case. So that revenue generation, monetary issues, all these things he has to tackle. So if he cannot deliver promises, and if there is any kind of public uprising, opposition may opposition will back that kind of public uprising, and so So
you may
he
have to
has
shift to rhetoric again.
yeah, so that
anti-India
is
rhetoric,
why
right?
probably it's not only about he has to deal with India Maldives bilateral relations. It's like about dealing everything,
And his
domestic,
constituency.
his constituency, and also his relations with China and other countries. Ultimately, China is the largest creditor as of now. So
You pointed out how India out, maybe the route was because of defense and security. Now, when you look at what's happened with the 3 aviation platforms, they've been converted from military personnel to civilians. I believe Maldives didn't take part in the Colombo security
initially, yes.
initially. What happens to, say, UTF Harbor, the radars, the hydrographic
They
thing was
will,
not signed again. So on that front, but of course, External Affairs Minister did meet Defense Minister Mohamed on this visit. So how do you see the security aspect of India-Maldives relations in the future?
So that is what I mean. I think that is a tricky issue probably. Now, hydrographic survey, I mean, they did not sign it. Now, I think from Indian perspective also, we have to, instead of giving some, knee-jerk reaction, we also need to understand why they are doing this and what they are doing this. Okay, they haven't signed the agreement. I mean, they did not renew the agreement. But what will they do now? Are they giving it to some other country, say to China or some other country, which may affect our security interest or our national interest? If that is the case, definitely we should take up the issue. But if they are saying that no, we will do on our own, and I believe that India was not only doing the survey thing, but also training the people, Maldivian people. So I'm not aware how what is the status now that they have the capability or not. But if the Maldivians are capable and they can do on their own, then I think we should not react much. Ultimately, if a country, if they want to be self-sufficient, I think every sovereign country has the right, and if they are capable and they are comfortable enough, another country cannot say much. So I think we have to see like what happens after that. If they are doing it just to become self-reliant, doing their own, and it's not affecting India's national interest or security interest, then I feel I think it's okay. India should but also this issue, if you see the way India handled it, they don't have issue with Indian civilians, but they had issues with Indian military personnel. So we change it, but India is still helping them. So I think that's how the relationship should go. It is very important for India also to understand and acknowledge the the sensitivities of the smaller island states. I think if we don't do that, then it comes that the relation like big brothers, bully, all these things come.
How do you see, Dr. Sultana, China reacting to the latest developments, especially since it has so much leverage in terms of debt or credit to the Maldives?
Not only debt or credit, also if you see this year, January, when President Muizzu visited China, they signed 20
and a defense agreement
agreement, and I think
which was in the Maldives, I think, signing.
And covers like all aspects, like blue economy, maritime security, health, everything. So, and I believe if China is known that they implement those whatever agreement, preliminary MOUs they sign, they implement it immediately. So probably they are going to do that. So they, as of now, they have not reacted. China hasn't reacted much on what's happening on with India, the development. And it's also, if you see, we also should not believe that yes, everything is settled between India and Maldives. It's a visit, is a positive development. That doesn't mean that we have to wait and see how the relation goes between the two countries, India and Maldives, in the next 5 years. So yeah, that is, as of now, there's not much reaction from China because and I think that's the way probably it should be, even for India also. As long as we should focus more on the bilateral relationship, as I mentioned that in my previous comment, that India should not unnecessarily react. Like if Maldives is signing an agreement with another country, we just should not react unless it actually affects us in a big way. So that is my view on the China's reaction.
And again, as you pointed out, Maldives foreign minister was here in May. President Muizzu came in for the swearing in June. I think the tourism minister here was in July. The external affairs minister has gone there in August. So that does send a lot of positive signaling.
Right. It's that and that interest is from both sides. It's not only one way. It's both sides wants to like improve the relations. So that is a positive sign. But at the same time, India should not be complacent also. We should try to see how we can take it further.
Dr. Gulbin Sultana, again, absolute pleasure having you in our studios. Thank you for coming in and sharing all your experiences.
Thank you for inviting. It was a pleasure talking to you.
The pleasure is all ours. And for our viewers, do send us feedback about this interview. You can follow all our social media handles for the latest articles that we put up on our website, or interviews like this with Dr. Gulbin Sultana on our YouTube channel. This is Strat News Global. I'm Amitabh Revi.